Hello, friends and neighbors and people who are into astrology and people who are into cool stuff. I got a little time for you. I'll do an Ask Me Anything session. So what do you got on your mind? What's your questions? Is the live chat connected? See if I type something, can you see it? So I'll just sit around here for a second and wait for a question to pop up. Or maybe I'm not connected to the chat and then I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do about that. Here we go. It was disconnected. Okay, 1 second. Let me just kind of optimize this situation. Turn this off. All right. If I go over here, then I should be able to see your chat. Okay, hopefully I didn't just shut myself off and now I'm ready to look at your questions. Does mantra affect our life? First, ask yourself if your mind affects your life. If your mind affects your life, then a mantra will affect your life because the mantra affects your mind. Why does a mantra affect your mind? Because your mind works by thinking, and thinking works by processes like calculations using numbers and words. And so mantras use words to affect your mind, and then your mind thereby affects your life. Let's see what else we got. Wow, there's actually so much stuff going on. Sanskrit Brihadarashtra Shastra, you can find it on Amazon or Google. What is Hare-Krishna, what are the astrological combination for unrequited love? Well, basically, what's unrequited love? Unrequited love is negative experience of love. So you probably want to look. You were going to expect some kind of a negative thing relating to the symbols that have to do with love. What are the symbols that have to do with love? Primarily, it's Venus. Secondarily, the 5th house and the 4th house. And of course, when you say house, that means they're lords as well. So you would probably look for some specific signature on that particular kind of damage where there's something that it's the native loves too easy. They have lack of discrimination in what they love. Or you might look for, it might come up in a situation where the native isn't particularly lovable, but they think that they're giving love, so they may not understand love that much either. So every chart is different. How can a person get cancer? In a whole lot of different ways. How can a person get successful? In a whole lot of different ways. So what's the signature for unrequited love? There's no signature for it. There's many different ways it could happen. But it will always involve Venus, 4th house, 5th house, and potentially the moon. Okay, let's see. What's the difference between dark arca and the ruler of the 7th house? I don't think there's a difference. I don't use the dark arca system, so I don't use the karka system, so I'm not particularly sure. You don't need there to be a difference between things. It's important, Ziar. We don't want there to be a difference between everything. Let me just make sure my video didn't stop. Video's good, right? Good. You don't want there to be a difference. For example, the moon represents the mother, the 4th house represents the mother. Good. Because if you have Saturn conjoin the moon, maybe you got a lousy mom. That alone doesn't indicate a lousy mom. To get Saturn, if you have Saturn like conjoin the moon and aspecting the cusp of your 4th house, then you have a mom with the problem. A sickly mom, an older mother, a weaker mother, a strict mother. So you need multiple things to signify the same thing. So it's actually, in fact, it's not just the moon in the 4th house. It's the moon, the 4th house, the 4th lord, the D12 the first house in the D12, the fourth house in the D12. And that's part of how astrology technique works, by having multiple significators of one thing. Can you please, Shira Mohuna says, can you please throw some light on dasha progression and how we can apply that at Antardasha and Pratyantardasha levels? Nope, I can't. I don't understand the question. Sorry. Greedy Rick, Prashar doesn't say anything about fifth house relating to romance or enjoyment. Really? It's been a long time since I've read what Prashar says on the fifth house. But I'm pretty sure you're wrong. Let me see if I can find it quick, since I happen to have the book right next to me. We got chapter 9, aspects of the signs surrounding time of birthday, judgment of houses. I think that's it. Chapter 13 in this version, 189. Judgment of houses, indications of the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house. So, from the fifth, here's just the translation. From the fifth house are to be seen amulets, sacred spells, learning, splendor of the intellect, sons, capacity or ability to manage affairs and falling from position, etc. Now let's look at the Sanskrit. Pravantakam Putra Raja. So it's about how to make children. Putra, the capacity. The capacity to make children is what it says in Sanskrit. So it's the inclination to make children is what he's saying in Sanskrit. What Prashar is saying. How come it doesn't say passion, love, etc.? Because he's one shloka, he's summarizing what it is, and it's expected that somebody who knows the subject is going to read it. So basically, the fifth house is on the west side of the fourth, and this is the way that you understand what houses signify. You have to understand the fourth house is the bottom underneath. It signifies the internal part of a person. Fifth house is how the internal part moves towards the west. The west signifies other people. So the fifth house is about how the inner feelings move towards other people. Third house is how the inner feelings move towards the self. So fifth house has creativity to it, things coming out from the inside. Third house also has creativity. Third house is more tangible, the ability to make things real. Fifth house is the ability to make things expressible and shown to other people. So the fifth house is about the intellect to communicate and express things, the drive to communicate and express things, the drive for the self to become something else, so like to reproduce, to make children, and that creative passion is all fifth house things. What's 2020? Oh, what's 2020 looking like for me personally in future astrological teachings and all that stuff? 2020, I want to be busy. Beginning of 2020, I'm doing, so it's like January 2nd, I'm starting, or 5th, I start a level 2 online course. You probably heard me talk about that before. If not, you can go to vicdicara.com/L2.php to get information about the level 2 course that's starting now. That's the first thing I'm going to do in 2020. Another thing I'm going to do in 2020 is another level 3 class, which would be a first time, which would be yogas. Examination of the most important astrological yogas mentioned in classic texts. The other thing I'm going to do in 2020 is Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam class. probably a series of them on Bhagavatam, which is also new. It hasn't been done in previous years. Then also, that's it. That's all I know about right now. That's what I'm planning. Also, I'm planning on trying to see how daily short videos would go, explaining the nakshatra of the day and how it relates to the nakshatra theme of the current moon cycle, which is the nakshatra of the new moon. So I'm going to try that out in January, February. And if it works good and is fun, I might keep it up for the whole year. So that's a big deal. Hi Vic, I wonder what's the best way to energetically cut ties with someone so you can move on. So this one is Gita teaching. It says, what does it say? Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The problem when you try to cut your ties with somebody or something is that you have rust for it. With it, you have experienced something that you are addicted to in that person or thing. And it's impossible to cut ties with something that you're addicted to. So Krishna says, Rasovarjam, even if you cut the tie with the flavor, Rasopyasya, you still want the flavor. So this is the thing is, in our relationships with people, we experience flavor from it. Like the same way we get flavor from tasting food. And the relationships that we keep are the ones that we like the flavor. When you try to stop the relationship, you'll still have the taste for the flavor. The taste for the flavor doesn't go away just by stopping the supply of the flavor. Rasovarjam rasopi asya. Rasom api asya. You still have the taste for it. Param drishtva. Only if you get that taste, only if you either see a better taste somewhere or get that taste from somewhere else, then you can forget about the previous taste. So, for example, if you're addicted to eating pizza, and for some reason you want to stop the relationship with pizza, it's not good for you, too much cheese, too much oil, whatever it is, you want to stop the pizza, you can't. You will only be able to stop it for an amount of time before your willpower runs out and you'll go back to the pizza, because the taste for pizza remains even when you distance yourself from the pizza. However, if you get into something better than pizza that provides you the flavor, we don't naturally actually care about a particular flavor, we just want flavor. So if you get into something that supplies you something param or better than pizza, you automatically forget about pizza without even trying to. So that's the thing about cutting ties with a relationship, is you have to find someone or something else to fulfill the flavor that you were getting from that relationship before your willpower expires. And it doesn't always have to be like, oh, okay, I had a sexual relationship with somebody and now that's over, so I better hurry up and get another sexual relationship. It doesn't have to be the same flavor. But as long as your heart is feeling satisfied by getting flavor from something, this is why boredom is the biggest cause of sexual misbehavior. Because when you're bored, you're not getting any flavor, and then you start to think about how you can get flavor, and you look around for somebody on the internet willing to chat with you for $5 an hour. So if you stay not bored, then you don't start thinking about how hungry you are. So that's the thing. If you're trying to give up something or cut ties with something, make sure that you have other things in your life that are keeping you happy and keeping you inspired. It doesn't have to be the same replacement, direct replacement. It's not like, oh, I stopped pizza, so I need another kind of pizza. You just need another kind of food. Or actually, that's the best way to diet, actually, since we're on the subject of dieting. The best way to diet is to work a lot. Or the best way to diet is to play a lot, or something where you're not going to be thinking about food because your mind is absorbing something else. Alrighty. Sonia, what's my opinion about the current transit in Sagittarius? What's the current transit in Sagittarius? Don't forget, I don't do sidereal astrology. Sonia says hi. I say hi to Sonia. Say hi to Greedy Rick, everybody. I can't read. Oh, what does it say? I can't read it. But somebody with cool looking. Jasmine says, hi Vic, what are the benefits of having fixed Grand Cross? Again, I don't know that one because this is a technique I don't use. This is like a modern Western technique. Prakriti, what's up? And this is where we started. Does mantra affect our life? Hello, Vic. Speak about the 7th house. 7th house is where the sun sets. So all the basic meaning for 7th house comes from the fact that it's where the sun sets. What do I mean when it's where the sun sets? I mean literally, this is what you have to do if you want to understand astrology, right? Is think about what these things literally are. What does this planet actually look like? How does it move? Then you know why this planet signifies the thing it signifies. Where is this house? The houses are areas of the sky. Which areas? If you know which areas they are, you know why they signify what they signify. So the 7th is defined by the western horizon. So the 7th is where the sun sets, and all the symbolism of the 7th house and that western quadrant, 7, 8, and 6, are signified by the sun setting. So 7th house signifies, for example, the lack of individuality. The 1st house is where the sun rises, so it signifies the self is becoming known and it's expressing itself. The 7th house is the opposite. The self is ceasing to express itself. The self is becoming unknown or unseen. So partnership is becoming possible in the 7th house. Other people are becoming important rather than oneself. So 7th house is a focus on partnership and other people. 7th house also has a focus on going somewhere, moving someplace, because it's the spot that the sun gets to. 7th house also has to do with dying, because it's where the sun sets. 7th house also has to do with abstraction, because the sun is becoming invisible. So there's your 7th house. Does Purnavasu, Diego, Tiffany, hello, Diego, does Purnavasu Aditi also bring regeneration? That's what Purnavasu is all about. Valeria, Arc, I have a stellium in the 12th house and so many of those planets are conjunct Saturn. Am I doomed forever? I doubt that you're doomed forever because you're a living being. So you'll figure it out. Johnny Nisha. What happens during the Saturn Dasha? It all depends on what Saturn represents in your chart. Misha, can we ask spiritual related questions? I wish you would. Ramesh, Chandra, 2 days ago, the sun moved into Sagittarius. I don't do sidereal astrology. The sun is nowhere near Sagittarius. 2 days ago, the sun moved into Sagittarius. You're getting to the equinox right now. You're getting to the solstice right now. We're like 2 days away from the solstice, so you people are saying the sun is in Sagittarius. The sun is getting out of Sagittarius now. How the sun in Sagittarius would help Trump get impeached is crazy. The sun is getting out of Sagittarius, going into Capricorn where it doesn't like to be. That's difficult for a leader. How lit am I? Angel Callan, I don't know, man. You hype for a new decade? No, actually, I don't really care. I'm turning 20 and it feels like a yikes. I just think that the number looks cool. I like the number 2020. It looks awesome. But it's just actually, I don't take that much thing. It's just a number that's based on a weird thing. It's not an actual meaningful number. Some estimate of when Jesus Christ was born. That's the number of years since then. I wish that we would reckon numbers on more astrological. I have a good saying, actually. Want to hear this? I'm lit for this saying. You know how Christians say, keep Christ in Christmas? I want to do like a meme on this or something. Maybe somebody could do this for me. Make a meme on this. Keep Christ in Christmas. No, thank you. Like, get Christ out of my solstice. That's my thing. So it was like Christian-based numbering of years. Doesn't really turn me on. But I do like the number 2020. I think it's cool. It's an easy pattern. What's up, Fuzz? Punit's got an unanswerable question about his own chart. Rosadina, what do you know about retrograded planets? Retrograde planets are turning around. Their motion through the zodiac is not forward. It's not following the zodiac. It's going against the normal movement. So just like I said before, if you want to understand things in astrology, just think about what they actually look like, what they actually are. Where is this house actually? What does this planet actually do? How does it move? What does it look like? Then you can understand what the things represent, signify, symbolize. So when a planet's moving backwards, it means that it's not behaving. Normally, it's going about things in a way that go more against the grain. It's got more of a rebellious nature to it. And it will do things that are more countercultural. That's the basic thing about retrogression. And you want to see what that retrogression does. Does the retrogression refrenate? Sometimes it's called refrenation. Does it pull the planet out from getting more into conjunction with another planet? Or does it make a planet refrain? Refrenation. Does it make it refrain from crossing a border? Does it make it refrain from making an aspect? Does it make it refrain from making conjunction? Then you can interpret that. Is it pulling it back closer to a border or to a conjunction or an aspect? You can interpret that. Does Rahu affect Saturn conjunct Moon in Satyabhishek? Of course, Johnny. The question is how, which is kind of a difficult question to answer. But since you didn't ask the question, I'm not going to. You got to ask the right question first. What do we got? YouTube flipped me down? YouTube flipped me down, so now I don't know where I was before, so people are going to feel bad that I may have skipped some of the questions, but let's do that and let's go with YouTube, baby. I should sometimes do this. Does a nakshatra that aspect the first house? How would the nakshatra aspect the first house? Planets give aspects. This is so cool. I got like a sparkle. Oh, thank you, Patricia. I got a sparkle and a donation from Patricia. Kalasarpa, not that important. Kalasarpa yoga is when all the planets are between Rahu and Ketu. Big deal. Rahu and Ketu cover 180 degrees of this whole sky. It's not that much of a big deal. Here, because this post said the word sex, it was censored, but I'm going to uncensor it. Greedy Rick said about the fifth house, what if the romance just involves sex without trying to make children? Yeah, it's the same thing. Sex is what's involved in making children. You might have a modification of that, where you put on a condom, or you put in a UED or something, or you take a pill, or you do it on the wrong day, but it doesn't make it not sex. So it's still the fifth house, but it would be some kind of slight modification on the fifth house. Sex has two functions, just as food has two functions. Food nourishes the body and gives pleasure to the heart. So it nourishes the body and the mind. Sex has the same two functions. It creates babies and it gives pleasure. So the best sex gives both, but sex is still sex when it only gives one or the other. Besides, for sex, it's not fifth house isn't necessarily sex. Fifth house is the drive to create. You want to see it combined with the eighth house to get passion for sex. Because the actual sexual organs are eighth house things. Reproduction itself is an eighth house thing. Sex itself is an eighth house thing. You can also get something good if you do 12th house. Because 12th is the magic moment when you disassociate with everything else in the external world and just get in the experience of sex. How to activate the 10th house star to get government job. My 10th house Venus in Purva Palguni. I'm not sure. I would need to look at your chart to give you a good answer for that. But if you want somebody to just tell you some mantra or something to do, just go look on Facebook or YouTube. So I'm sure somebody's going to tell you. Rafael Perez, from the Vedic perspective, what is the remedy for lust and compulsive behavior? Or why do people desire to do evil things? Arjuna asked that question to Krishna. He said, why do we do things that we know we shouldn't do? It's as if something else is forcing us to act. And Krishna says the answer to the reason that the force is lust. So lust is actually the force that makes the person do the thing that they don't. Go back to the other question about how to dissociate from a relationship that you want to dissociate from. The reason why you have the relationship is because you enjoy the flavor. So if you have the enjoyment for the flavor is natural, and that's called lust. The desire to experience the flavor is lust. But lust will make you experience the flavor, need the object. And it becomes, like, what are you saying? Compulsive behavior or evil things. What is the definition of that? The definition of an evil thing is the thing that you shouldn't do because it creates bad results for people. It makes people suffer or experience pain. So that happens when you need the flavor so much that you overlook any rules about it, how you get it, or you overlook negative experiences that will be associated with getting that pleasure. So the same answer that we gave about how you disassociate from a relationship and cut ties is the same answer for how you overcome lust. Raso varjam rasopyasya param drishta nivartante. The only way to nivarta, or get away from that, is to get param rasam. To see, even just to see it. Even not even to taste the param rasa or a superior experience of happiness and pleasure, but even just to see it, to know that it exists, to hear about it, will pull your mind off of the thing that you shouldn't be trying to get pleasure out of. So you should just try to be fulfilled, and that's why it's very important that in life we try to make sure that the people around us feel happy and fulfilled. Because in turn, they'll do the same thing for us. And when they feel happy and fulfilled, they don't misbehave. And when we feel happy and fulfilled, we don't misbehave. It's when you feel bored, it's when you feel hungry, it's when you feel tired, it's when you're poor that you commit crimes. Because there's no other way. So similarly, it's when you are not happy that you do sinful things, because there's no other way. Sinful means doing something that you shouldn't do to get something, to get some experience. So if you can satisfy the need to have a pleasurable experience, you won't have a need to do something unproductive or evil. So the remedy for lust-driven behavior is to satisfy the lust in a superior way, in a way that's not counterproductive. The Martian says, can you give a general overview of D5 and the meaning of it? D5 is Trimsha, right? Panchama, the same thing. So it can be called different things. D5 is basically called the bounds in Western astrology. Oh, I got another nice donation. I'm so happy. Honestly, I love it. It's so nice. Thank you so much for expressing your support in such a practical way. Thank you. D5 has to do with boundaries. It's called the bounds. It's the only chart which is uneven. All the other Amsha charts are even divisions of the sign. The 5 divisions of a sign are uneven, they're not equal. And it has to do with deformity, limitation, malfunction. That's what this chart is about. So it's a good chart to look at for ill health. It's a good chart to look at for especially ill health. Bamsha or Trimshamsa or the D5 is really important reference for that. Or just misfortunes in general. You can be protected from misfortunes and in health by good things in that chart. Or illnesses and problems that you have can be indicated by negative things in that chart. Somebody wants to know how they should get the most. Rob Von Daren wants to know how he should get the most from Moon Mahadasha. I can't say that without knowing what your moon is all about. So you can't answer these questions without looking at charts. Prakriti, what's your opinion about the upcoming eclipse? It's so interesting. I'm going to do with the group called Astrology Hub. I'm going to be doing a month with them, with their inner circle. They have this like membership subscription thing where you can join their inner circle and you get access to like a different astrology teacher every month. So my month is coming up starting on the 23rd, and it starts with this eclipse. So it's very interesting. General eclipses are overemphasized in astrology, but this one is interesting, and I think it has to do with the exposure of, this is also with Trump's impeachment, the exposure of role models or leaders, the exposure of their hypocrisies, having some kind of revolutionary political impact. That's what that eclipse is all about. Yeah, Greedy Rick. Your name is so funny. Let's just call you Greedy. Is that okay? Greedy Rick says, could the fifth house be anything that we are passionate about? Yeah, sure, passion. But the fifth house is more about loving passion, and the third house is more about lusty passion. Liz says, she's never heard me speak about Kalasarpa Yoga. That's because I don't think it's that important thing to think about. I would probably cover it in my level 3 course in 2020. But it's not even a Vedic. Like, it's not even a classical yoga. I never found it described in any of the books, the old classical Sanskrit books that I studied. Jasmine, do you prefer whole sign over Placidius? Yes. If so, why? Because there's a reason why there's 12 houses. The reason why there's 12 houses is because there's 12 signs. The reason why there's 12 signs is because there's 12 conjunctions between the sun and the moon in a year. And each sign is based on the distance between each one of those conjunctions. So what the houses are a reference to the horizon. Just like the signs are a reference to the equator, the houses are a reference to the horizon. And the reference is all about how do the signs relate to the horizon. That's what makes the houses, the eastern horizon. The signs define the 12 zones of space. Now, how do those 12 zones of space relate currently at this time and place to me? Is defined by houses. Well, the way that you define houses is by the first point, which is the eastern degree, the ascendant, the eastern point. And so there's 12 of those houses because there's 12 signs to relate to the earth. So the reason why I use the whole sign system is because it's the original concept. The original concept of the houses was that. And I'd like to do things in the original form as much as possible. And I like to go to the kernel and the core and the root of things as much as possible. This is funny. Fidgen says we need more on tropical versus sidereal, and then Fuzz Mantra says no, we don't. But if you need more, then ask a specific question. Astrology Infinite Knowledge wants to know if I know Hindi. Kuch nahi. Rosadina Reda, what do you know about retrograded planets in your natal chart? Does it mean that you've insulted someone in past life? No, it doesn't indicate that. So, Astrology Infinite Knowledge wants my horoscope. It's available. July 27th, 1970, Bayshore, New York. How to stop smoking. Fidgen. Same thing. It's Raso Varjam Rasopyasya Param Drishtva Nivartate. You better have something that takes your mind off smoking. Actually, I did a reading with somebody recently to help them stop smoking. So in this particular case, sometimes your behavior becomes part of your identity. Yeah, this is also interesting for the person that wants to know about how to cut ties, or the person who wants to know how do you stop lust-driven behavior. The things that we don't really know our identity, so we assume the identity based on the things that we do. We define ourselves based on what we do and what we look like and things like that. So a behavior like smoking a cigarette actually becomes part of your identity. I am somebody who smokes. I am somebody that eats squids. So one of the reasons why it's hard to change behavior is because you will feel like you're changing yourself. You will feel untrue to yourself by changing that thing. So another way of giving up relationships or giving up behaviors is to make some kind of radical move to redefine yourself in a way that doesn't include that at all, or to erase things in your life which were part of what led you to identifying with that behavior. So that will also support it. But the main thing is you need something better than smoking cigarettes. You need something that takes your mind off of smoking cigarettes. Combustion, Liv wants to know, is it purification or sacrifice to the sun? It's mostly sacrifice to the sun. But it depends on how the planet's going in or coming out. Arc. In a chart where a moon holds a superior square to the sun, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, is the family mother, the emotional mind, always an enemy? I don't know any of these techniques. So what a superior square is. That was developed in astrology. That's more modern than the system that I use. If the moon is making the square to the sun, I don't know what a superior square is. Sorry. Rosadina Reda, what do you know about retrograde? You asked me this already. Sun in the 7th house. Bhakti is the flavor that always delights, right? The supreme rasam is love. Let me answer some questions that I feel that I can capably answer. Like Ravi wants to know, this is Ardra father and Pushya son. What's the relationship? I would just say, I don't know your charts. So don't pretend that, I don't know your relationship. Even if I know your charts exactly, it's going to be a lot of work for me to know your relationships. But just on the Ardra moon of a father and the Pushya moon of a son, they're two quite different people. So the best approach for them to have is that they learn from each other and don't try to teach each other. The father is always going to be of a nature to point out. The father is going to be more of a Saturnian type, and the child is more of a Jupiterian type. So it's better that they don't try to teach each other, but they try to learn from each other. Let's see what else we got. Guys, don't have to ask your questions twice. I don't know. Maybe you can try. Sometimes looks like you are alone in Vedic tropical. Why do you guys don't fight together? How many of us are there? Maybe some people are tired of fighting about it. But who is there? Michael Reed? I haven't really seen anything from him recently. He's not a fighter. Who's the other one? Ryan Kurzak? Ryan, I haven't seen much of him in astrology lately. He's mostly doing his Kriya Yoga stuff. Ernst Willem, very busy doing research on homeopathic medicine and how it relates to nakshatras and trying to help people's health from astrology only. So people are busy doing their own things. Rob, great, you gave much love. Vargotama in Navamsha, don't know what that means. Astrology Infinite Knowledge, sir. Twins have the same horoscope, but why their life is not displayed? Why their life is not the same? Do they have the same horoscope? Not all twins have the same horoscope. But that's the first thing. So twins are not born at the same instant. That's one thing. Usually, they're about 5 minutes apart. If you've ever done birth time rectification, 5 minutes is 5 minutes. And that is significant differences in 5 minutes. Quite often, they're more than 5 minutes apart. 15, sometimes up to 40 minutes apart. So that's one thing about twins. Even if you did have a pair of twins that hypothetically have the same chart, which means even their D60 is the same, which means they're born with the ascendant in the same 30 minutes of space. They're two different people. Are they also the same gender? That makes a difference. And they're two different people. What the chart shows you is your karma. The chart shows you what opportunities you're getting in this life. So it shows you what is coming to you in the present as a result of the past, but it doesn't show you what you're doing with the present to create the future. You can imply that you'll do predictable things, habitual things. One can imply that you will act habitually in the same pattern that you've acted before, but it's not by any means definite. So you have the same mechanism which creates your destiny also enables you to alter your destiny. The mechanism is will. Will is the thing which has created the destiny. Will means I wanted to do something. I did it. Now I have a result from that. That result is the destiny. So it's will which creates destiny. If you go up and you slap somebody in the face, your destiny is you're going to get in a fight. And it's not going to be avoidable. It'll be difficult to avoid that fight. And similarly, if your destiny is you go up and you help somebody, then your destiny is that you're going to be thanked and loved and you get a smile instead of a punch. The destiny is based on action. Action is based on will. The same mechanism, will then, creates destiny. And the same mechanism which creates destiny creates the ability to modify it. So you got two twins. They're not the same Atma. They're two different individuals with different Atma, Ahankar. Different sense of who they are. So they won't respond to the opportunities in the same way. So this gradually creates exponential difference between the two of them, even if theoretically they have the same chart, which 99.99% of the time they don't. All right, next question. Can you comment on SC Blossoms? Can you comment on when you think Kali Yuga will end? Well, first of all, what is Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga is a period of history analogous to the winter time of a year. And second of all, do you think that Kali Yuga has even started? It hasn't not even started. Also, let me give you some background on who defines Kali Yuga. The Puranas define Kali Yuga, and the Siddhanta, Surya Siddhanta, defines Kali Yuga mathematically. And then there's also a person called Yukteswar who gave a definition of Kali Yuga that had nothing to do with the way the Puranas describe it and the way the Siddhanta defines it. So Yukteswar is a maverick who did things his own way because he wanted to take the precession of the equinoxes and make that be the cause of the yugas, but it's not. The precession of the equinoxes doesn't have anything to do with the yugas. The yugas is about the amount of breaths that expire in Brahma's lifetime. So Kali Yuga is a winter period in the cycle of four kind of universal seasons. And it has not actually started, but it's in the transition or the dusk or dawn or twilight. It's in the dawning phase of Kali Yuga. The dawning phase of Kali Yuga would be 10% of 360. That would be 36,000 years of dawning period, of which we've only passed 5. So we haven't entered Kali Yuga, what to speak of it ending. And it's going to go on. Then it goes on in total for 432,000 years. And then it has a transition period of another 36,000 years where it turns back to spring. which is Satya Yuga. So basically, when is Kali Yuga going to end? It's too huge of a time span for you to even think about it. It's not going to end. Basically, it hasn't even started, so don't even worry about it. That's my suggestion there. Does combustion cancel exaltation? No. It just means that somehow the qualities of the planet that's exalted but combust are going to be dependent entirely on the sun. I have no aspects to my natal moon in Taurus in the 8th house, AL says, but I still feel deeply and intensely. Of course you do. You have the moon in Taurus in the 8th house. Should it feel depressing? It may at times. What kind of amshas your moon is in, what nakshatra it's in, for the rest of your chart. I mean, something else is happening from the rest of your chart. You may have an aspect to your moon that you don't know about. You may not have calculated it. Maybe it's not a Western aspect. Maybe it's not by a whole sign pop Vedic aspect. Maybe there is an aspect there. Saturn and Anuradha from Gogo Pogo, that's kind of like, uh-oh. I wonder if this person can achieve. I wonder if this person has got sexual fulfillment or fulfillment from love. It's not going to help that, Saturn and Anuradha. Thank you, Smith Haven. We talked about your name before. Am I actually at the bottom? No. I just have this button I have to click. Okay. Gotta try to scroll back up to where we were before. What does avatar yoga mean? I'm not sure what it means, but it probably means this is a particular combination in a birth chart that indicates that this person is not an ordinary living being. But again, like, good luck. Good luck on this. There's plenty of people who have Raja Yoga that aren't kings. There's plenty of people who have Saraswati Yoga that aren't scholars. And there's plenty of people with avatar yogas that aren't avatars. So good luck dealing with the person who's got an avatar yoga and claims to be an avatar. It's one of the factors that points towards a general principle of being kind of above karma or being in control of karma rather than being below it and controlled by it. Look at this. This is a cool question. Arvind Kumar, please suggest me this. I'm Virgo and I want to grow my hair. In which hora should I do the remedy? Again, like, wow, that's really, I don't know. In which hora should I do the remedy? Have an astrologer calculate the muhurta for you that you should do the remedy. But what's the remedy? This is not the age of yagya anymore. You can't do yagyas. That was previous Yuga. Dwapara Yuga. That all these yagyas would work. They still work a little bit. But it's not like magic coming true. So if you want to grow your hair, like, you need to reduce pitta. So, you be practical about things that are practical, like your health. If you have a Virgo ascendant, you may have a good chance to do it, because Virgo is earthy. More Krishna videos, says Fijin. Okay, I'm going to do the Bhagavatam class for sure. You can ask me a question, Fijin, about Krishna right now. Would you say a cluster of 6 planets in the nakshatra Aslesha? Whoa, you got 6 planets in the nakshatra Aslesha? Changes the expression of the nakshatra into a less than a desirable one. That's complicated. You need to look at this chart. You got 6 planets in one nakshatra. That's intense. This sort of diagnosis cannot be made over the internet. We need as many details as possible to read this chart in detail. Chirag, for Aries ascendant, 12th house, Lord Jupiter in the 11th house in Aquarius. I'm not going to answer it. It's too specific. The other reason is I don't even know if you guys realize that sidereal astrology is not the most accurate. So you're probably telling me all your sidereal placements, and then I'm going to try to interpret that. It's not going to work. I interpret people who give me their birth data, order a reading from me. I calculate the charts myself, and I feel confident about what I'm doing. Gogo Pogo, Mars in the 6th, good stuff. You want to have Mars or Saturn or the Sun in the 6th house or the 3rd house. Strong with enemies. Discipline. Prakriti PB. Vic, what do you think of out-of-body experience so many people claim to experience these days? What does the Vedas say about such things? The Vedas say that the soul itself has its own capacity to experience. Otherwise, no amount of body or mind would be able to give it experience. Like, you have an eye, therefore you can use glasses, or you can use a magnifying glass or a telescope or a microscope. But if you don't have an eye, a telescope or a microscope is not going to help you. So, the same way the soul has some sort of an eye, some sort of an ear, some sort of a nose, some sort of a mouth, that the mental processing of those sensations and the physical organs act like telescopes and microscopes for. So perception is not only in the senses are the tool for the perception. That's why they're called indriya or tool. So even the soul without a body can experience, but what it experiences is much less definite and much less clearly defined. The soul can be connected to a body through a mind, or in cases where the body, it can also leave a particular body for some short time, for some amount of time, but it remains encased in the mental energy that does all the feeling and thinking for it, that extends its capacity for feeling and thinking and perception. So the perception in an out-of-body experience would be similar to the kind of perception that you can have in a dream. It won't be completely lucid and linear and it won't be completely defined and concrete like in a dream. It'll be very fluid and flexible, but you're still able to perceive forms, colors, tastes, etc. So even when the body is not being utilized by the mind, the soul can still perceive through the mind. And that's what an out-of-body experience is. It's where the soul, the mental apparatus gets dislodged from the body. Maybe because the body is fit to be abandoned, it died. And then maybe it gets resuscitated and becomes more viable, and then the mind can come back in it. Or maybe it was just dislodged by some disruption to prana. Some event or trauma or something may cause the connection between the mind and body to be severed. That's the prana gets disrupted. And then temporarily the mind is without access to its body. But it still has the capacity to perceive. That's what the out-of-body experience is. Mars and Purvashad. Mars and Purvashad. Warlike, warrior. The Martian, I was looking at Kristen Stewart's birth chart, and she has the 7 visible planets and 7 different signs. I believe that is a yoga. That is a yoga called Vina. It's part of the Sankhya counted yogas. So you count how many signs are occupied by planets and by 7 visible planets. So you can have up to 7. The more that you get, basically the more you get, the better it is. So 7 is considered to be like a Renaissance type of, like what you call a Renaissance man, where the person has got ability in many different areas of life. And they have access to a lot of different, they have access to a lot of areas of life and a lot of resources. So they become multi-talented, things like that. This is 7th. If you have 7. 6 is the person feels very much like doing their dharma. 5 is they feel very passionate and they like beauty and art. 4 is they are a bit homebody-ish and they just like to get things done. 3, they tend to have to struggle or fight. 2, they get very bipolar. And 1, they're very, very one-pointed and unbalanced. Aravind wants to know the horror to buy a lottery. I don't know this. If I knew this, I would be rich. Don't ask anybody to tell you when to win the lotto, because if they could tell you when to win the lotto, they would play the lotto and win. It's your luck. You're going to win by your karma or not. How do you find the past life via the horoscope? Oh, wait. There's a couple of other questions I missed. All right, Sonia, how do you... P. Patro, hello. Sonia, how do you find the past life with this horoscope? Past life with this horoscope? That was question was asked last week, Sonia. There's better ways to do it than astrology. But with astrology, if you can, there's better ways. You don't need astrology to know the past life of a person, but with astrology, your best way to do it is to be smart and infer what sort of activity or what sort of person would create the karmas in this life. But part of what I said in the thing is last week was we have mostly an infantile concept of multiple lifetimes when we think like past life. There's infinite past lives, and things from infinite past lives are affecting us in this life, and the past life is not particularly important because just like in dreams, the mind is not really concerned with physical things like sequences of events. So something from 1 billion lifetimes ago is just as important to the mind as something from 10 lifetimes ago, as something from the previous life. So an obsession with finding out the past life is not really as important as people think. But what's important is this life, and you acting in this life in such a way that you make progress towards actually achieving true happiness. And you can infer what you must have been doing in previous lifetimes by being smart about seeing what's happening to you in this lifetime, but it's not really that important. What's important is that you learn from the karma, not that you understand what generated it. You do need to understand what generated it in order to learn it, but you don't need to know specifically what was the name of this person that I supposedly made cry when they loved me, and so that's why I have all these bad romantic relationships now. Or what did they look like? Who were they? Where did I live? It doesn't matter. That's why you forget it, because it doesn't matter. The 12 chart arc is for parents only. I guess you can say parents are the same as past life. So maybe that's an interesting concept arc. Samantha Lofgren, thank you deeply for your time, Vic. Thank you. Is the absolute dark of the spiritual world attracted to and pushed away by our own personal energy? Do we attract these things to us? No, what a strange concept that the spiritual world is absolute dark. Maybe you're looking at Buddhism or something. There's no... the material world is absolutely dark, and it's lit by the spiritual world. So I don't know, and what kind of thought is that the spiritual world is absolute dark? There is no dark in spirit. We create darkness by blocking spirit. What's my favorite dessert? Shivani. Shivani, why? Why are you asking that question? Are you going to make me a dessert? My favorite... I have a lot. You know what's really great? Rubbery and Gorgajak and rubbery. Or burfi. Good burfi. Or any I love all those. Burfis and ladus. Bundi ladus. What about Western food? I kind of like ice cream, not too much. I don't like sweets that much, actually. I'm more into salty food. But Indian sweets are pretty off the charts good. And so probably a lot of you are laughing, but Gorgajik and rubbery, not exactly a monk, huh? All right. Here's an interesting question. I had to skip because YouTube flipped my chat, so apologies if I skipped your question. Do you think 23.5 difference between Western and Vedic has anything to do with 23 chromosomes of DNA? Absolutely not. That's nothing to do. First of all, it's not a difference between Western and Vedic. It's a difference between tropical and sidereal. In other words, it's a difference between the ascending equinox and a reference star that it was associated with 2,000 years ago. So it doesn't have anything to do with your DNA because 1,000 years ago, it wasn't 23.5. Did you have 22 DNA before? 22 chromosomes? in 100 years from now, it's going to be more than 23.5. Are we going to grow another chromosome? No. How to clear moon karma and sade sati, say moon and anuradha. Don't worry, clearing karma. You don't think about clearing karma. Think about learning from karma. You don't get rid of your karma. Your karma is your friend. It's teaching you lessons. Just try to look at life in a way that you are willing to learn from it. Modify your behavior so that you're contributing and participating. You're participating in the world in a contributory way. That's how you clear your karma, so to speak. This is an interesting question. Prakriti, she asks, do your kids go to regular school or do you teach in the Vedas? Why would I have to do one or the other? My kids go to regular school, and whenever they ask questions about things that only the Vedas can explain, I tell them. My favorite, the guy who asked me the most is my oldest son, who's a Purva Bhadrapada. Who's a Uttara Bhadrapada. Moon, Uttara Bhadrapada moon. He asks the most questions and getting the most deep stuff with him. But all kids, they're fascinated by things. And it's great when you have a way to answer questions that only the Vedas can answer. How would you predict with Vimshottari Dasha? Laura wants to know. It's not so much for prediction, ironically, because it's not very pinpointing. Vimshottari Dasha is not very pinpointed. It's about dashas. Dasha means phases, not specific times, but phases. And it's more like eras. Dasha means era, or phase, or epoch. So Vimshottari Dasha tells you the nature or the quality of a span of time. You use transits more to predict when things are going to happen. Is the law of attraction a contradiction to karma? Law of attraction is not a law. I hate to tell you, Tampa Todd. It's just somebody's idea that they wrote a book about. But it is not a contradiction to karma anyway. The law of attraction is that the thing that you set your mind to and work on is what you're going to get, right? But they'll leave out the work on part because nobody wants to hear that. But they're going to say the thing that you set your mind on is what you'll get, what you'll attract to you. But that's basically karma. So I love this. The secret. What a secret it is. It's only known to like 50 million people since 50 billion years ago in the Vedas. April. Thank you, April. I know you've answered this before, but what projects do you have coming up that are really fun for you? I have projects for the doing the videos, short videos on the nakshatra of the day and how it relates to the nakshatra of the new moon for that month. I'm interested in that one. I have this coming up month, December, that I'll be doing with Astrology Hub Inner Circle. I'm doing exactly that with that group. I'm looking out for that. Looking forward to that. Projects teaching Bhagavatam course and doing the Astrology Yoga course in 2020. I'm looking forward to that. Kalpadruma, Seth Gun wants to know. Oh, nice question. Seth, the different question. Hey, can you share the significance of Kalpadruma or wishing tree yoga? I saw that Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada had it, but in a sidereal chart. Kalpadruma yoga is where the First Lord is really strong. That's the essence of the yoga. So you just try to imagine how you would interpret a really great First Lord. So first house is where you have the ability to make things tangible. The sun is rising here, so things are becoming real, tangible, actually coming true in the first house. So Kalpadruma Yoga, as the name suggests, Kalpadruma means you can get what you want. Kalpadruma literally means wishing tree. A wishing tree is a tree that you go up to and you ask for a mango, you get a mango. You ask for a peach, you get a peach. So to have a Kalpadruma Yoga means you have a strong ability to realize your ambitions and desires. And this is a nice question from Smithy. How is Radha different from Rukmini, or are they the same? So basically they're the same, but actually they're not. Krishna is the original life form doing what it wants to do, which is enjoy, have fun, enjoy life, enjoy existence. Radha is the Shakti or power through which Krishna actually does that. How Krishna enjoys life is Radha. So that archetype of a conscious experiencer experiencing something delightful is Krishna Radha, and that's the basis for all of reality. That's what reality is. It's just an expansion of that. That's why sex creates babies, by the way. So all of the gods and goddesses are expansions of the Krishna Radha archetype, and all of us are included down towards the far end of that tree, all of us included. So Rukmini, when Krishna comes a little bit out of the mode of doing what he himself wants to do and more towards the mode of doing things that might serve some kind of a purpose, then he becomes Dwarkadish, where he has a city and he acts like a king. And he takes care of some things for people. So as Dwarkadish, Radha will come along with it. Of course, if Krishna goes to be Dwarkadish, then Radha will come to be Rukmini. But Krishna has 8 principal wives and 16,108 in total as a result of rescuing 16,000 kidnapped ladies at one time. So all of them are this Radha's gopis coming from Vrindavan Krishna into Dwarka. But the interesting thing is the one who's foremost with Krishna is not the one who's foremost with Dwarkadish. The one who's secondary with Krishna is the one who's foremost with Krishna in Dwarka. So Radha, with Krishna, there's no formality whatsoever. There's no rules. There's no anything. It's just he's just enjoying being alive, and people are participating in that enjoyment. In Dwarka, there are some rules to it. He's acting with dharma, some principle, and he's doing things for some purpose rather than just no purpose, enjoying. So the one who's most suited to facilitating the lawless Krishna is Radha, the lawless, completely no hold bars lover. The secondary one is Chandravali, when Krishna is Krishna. When Krishna goes to Dwarka, where his mood changes a bit and he gets a little bit more formal, then Chandravali becomes the foremost companion for him, Rukmini, and Radha becomes Satyabhama, the secondary one. But Satyabhama is the coolest one. And you might have seen recently, even Satyabhama actually has some relevance to the mythology of the nakshatras, because she's the one that killed Narakasura. Like Krishna takes her, she's fiery. She's not submissive. She's very dominant. So Krishna takes her with him a lot of times when he goes to fight different people. And a lot of times she fights. She does the fighting. So she killed the demon that kidnapped all the women. She kills like rapists and things. She totally destroyed Indra when there was the tussle over the Parijata tree. So Radha is like, Satyabhama is like super cool. So Satyabhama to us is better than Rukmini. But technically Rukmini is the foremost queen. So that's a lovely question. Thank you, Sham Tamin. Oh my God. What aspect in your own chart is your favorite, or the one you've learned the most from about yourself? What I learn a lot from my chart is how nakshatras relate to each other. Like Satyabhishak, I have Satyabhishak, I have Uttarashada ascendant, I have the most prominent planet Jupiter and Chitra, I have Rohini moon, and how all those guys work together or don't has been the most interesting thing for me. I think somebody said it was a good question. April said it was a good question. So what else? Basically, I fact check every theory or technique on my own chart first before I'm going to mess with anybody else's chart with it. So basically, I just use my chart like that. Jan says, my question is, does positor change the personality of a planet sign? Yes. So the planet that owns the sign occupied by a planet is very important to that planet that's in the sign. So if you got Jupiter in Gemini, then the condition of Mercury is very important. So that's another thing. The person who asked, I have Moon and Taurus in the 8th house. Would that indicate depression? I don't have any aspects to it. Well, one thing you want to think about is, where is the Lord of the 8th house? Where is Venus? Because the 8th house is created by Taurus. So where's Venus? This is another reason for the whole sign houses are more natural. The sign creates the house. That's why the ruler of the sign owns the house. Vix, Venus, Virgo in the 9th, and Purva Phalguni. That's also been a big lesson. And how that's combined with Ketu making a Raj Yoga of a debilitated planet in a ironically conducive yet non-conducive nakshatra for it. It's pretty interesting, but to walk you through all that stuff, you'd have to sit down here for like 45 minutes and just talk about myself. What magnified effect? Let's see, how much time did we do? Oh, we went over time. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll, stop, and answer 2 more questions. Boom. Hey Vic, can you explain why you don't use Jupiter as a significator of a husband for a woman? It's not that I don't use Jupiter as a significator for a husband for a woman, because Jupiter means all the people that help you. This is what Jupiter is. Jupiter is all the people that help you. So of course your spouse, husband or wife, is gonna act in a Jupiterian way. So Jupiter of course has bearing on the marriage, but it's not the primary significator of the spouse. Venus is the person who you want to marry, is Venus. Venus is the indicator of the spouse, the 7th lord, even more so. So I don't know why everybody's all interested in Venus as a significator of a husband only for a woman. Maybe. That's not my thing. I've never. And then they explain that the husband is the guru for the wife. That's complete retardation. Because the wife, this is so retarded. This is completely retarded. The wife is the husband for the guru. And the husband is the guru for the wife, because like I said, Jupiter represents the people that help you. And of course your spouse is going to help you, or not, and you'll see that by a debilitation to a problem to Jupiter. So I just think it's a stupid idea. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. All right, last question. Cool one that I happened to. So come on, I just happened to see this one that I could answer quick. 12 Houses Astrology with Matt Davis. Hey Vic, do you recommend using Shripati or any other house system in addition to the Lugna chart? No, but, and this may be like contradictory and I have no good reason, or it's not consistent with me in general, but there's one exception, is that I really like the point called Midhaven, or MC as it's usually abbreviated. I think that's the same thing. That the Midhaven is the actual cusp of the 10th house versus the theoretical one. The theoretical 10th house cusp is just 90 degrees from the ascendant, but the actual one depends on your latitude, longitude, and time of year. And that's the basis for all of the Chalita house systems, Bhava Chalita dynamic house systems, is that very fact that that it's not actually 90 degrees from the ascendant. So that point, the midhaven point, seems really important to me. In the charts where I've looked at it, it always seems like, oh, this really explains what the 10th house is supposed to explain. So if I would recommend using some kind of dynamic system besides the whole sign system, I would say just take the 10th house cusp. Don't build a whole house system on it, but just see where the 10th house, the dynamic 10th house cusp is, and consider that. And then the final question here is, from Misha, why some people don't experience any benefits from spiritual practices and can't feel or connect to a higher power. This is because sadhana or abhikteya is based on sambandha, which is knowledge. So, to put it in English, you can't practice something that you don't understand. Like, if I don't know how to play a drum, I can practice, but I'm probably 90% of the time going to be practicing counterproductive things. Holding my hands in the wrong way, not moving them the right way, moving my muscles the wrong way to play this drum. Because I didn't get clear knowledge about what this drum is and how to use it first, I just jump right into the practice. So what am I practicing most of the time? Junk. And how does that affect the outcome? I actually ingrain into my muscles the wrong kind of behavior. So people jump into spiritual practices before they have spiritual comprehension or knowledge, or before they clearly understand what's real, what's unreal, what's self, what's non-self, what's divine, what's karma. So you can't do that. You can't expect that to be fruitful. That you can just jump into a spiritual practice. Yay, let's meditate. I don't know anything about self, non-self. I don't know anything about matter, spirit, substance, form. But if I meditate, I should get a great result. You won't. It's like trying to practice drum when you don't even know what the drum is. So this is why. It's because people either skip the step of getting education before doing practice, or they can't get good education because they get screwball teachers. And then that's why they get no results or very few results from their spiritual practice. Okay, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, we'll call it a day. My parents came from America for Christmas, so I'm going to go see them. Thanks, everybody. It was nice spending this time with you, and I'm going to end the stream now. Did it end? Not yet. End.